Coming up on this episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover.
Easily one of the biggest challenges is the integration into a new environment, moving away from home, not being with parents. Like I said, some of these guys are coming from Mexico or Canada or Hong Kong or Japan or New Zealand. So it's not just they've gone an hour down the road or they've even taken a quick 2-hour flight from Europe. A lot of them have come from other parts of the world.
Thanks for joining us here at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We've got another special episode for you. We put the NFL Division Preview Series to one side for this week as we delve back into the world of the NFL Academy. We're looking at the mental side of elite athlete development as we sit down and speak with Natasha Bains, sports psychologist at the NFL Academy. Natasha has a background in sports psychology, working with a different range of elite and developing athletes from all kinds of sports and sporting backgrounds. Natasha has been doing work with the NFL Academy over the last few years. So we sit and discuss with Natasha what it takes to build that mental resilience and the mental toughness in the NFL Academy, how she helps and supports the development of these young people and young athletes and the impact that she's having. Natasha has her own, outside the work of the NFL Academy, again, as mentioned, develops and works with athletes from all ranges of sports through her Beyond Better Club. Make sure you go give Natasha a follow at Natasha Bains Psych. The handle will be on screen during the interview. It's in the episode description. And also give Beyond Better Club a follow as well to keep up with all of the work that Natasha does. Again, I would say I'm biased, but I think it's a fantastic interview. It's a great insight into the inner workings of a sports psychologist, if you're not already kind of up to speed with that, but how it specifically translates to the sport of American football and specifically to the development of the elite athletes down at the NFL Academy in Loughborough. So here is Natasha. Joining us for this very special episode, we've got Natasha Bains, sports psychologist at the NFL Academy. Natasha, welcome to Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. First of all, thank you for joining us. And how are you getting on?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm brilliant. Thank you very much. We've just entered our summer camp at the NFL, so we are very much deep into that now. So I'm doing well. It's exciting times.
Excellent. Yeah, how's it been kind of then just starting in, having, I suppose, a little bit of a break and coming in? Does it kind of really feel like it's moving to kind of true football season now? And
yeah, for sure. So we usually get 3 to 4 weeks off for our off season. So we usually break up around mid to end of June. So the players all leave the academy. They go back to their respective countries and homes and families. They do whatever, hang out with their families, go to the beach, go on holiday, and then we come back. But it's very intense from the beginning. We're straight into it because our first game starts end of August. So we don't really have much time to mess around or much time to acclimatize. So it's 4 to 6 weeks of summer camp, intense training, 2-a-days, gym sessions, psychology sessions. So I very much enjoyed the break. I took myself off to Italy for 10 days. It's also nice for me to switch off. But equally, I do get a bit itchy to get back into the athlete environment. So I'm also very happy to be back.
Excellent. Great choice for a summer's trip to Italy as well. Excellent. Well, I suppose let's get into it and understand your sort of background a little bit more then to kind of kickstart our show today. So your role currently is you're a sports psychologist at the NFL Academy. You've got your own things, obviously things outside of that as well, the Beyond Better Club that you can go follow Natasha, and make sure you go follow at Natasha at Natasha Bains Psych. But tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up working in sports psychology to begin with, Natasha.
Sure. So I actually come from a very sport-orientated family, soccer, football. My brother used to be a professional footballer. My dad plays football all his life. I've played football from the age of 4 and have played until I was around 21 at university, and then just took a different path. Weren't many adult women's teams in my area. But having done that, I've been exposed to all of the challenges from a physical side, through injury, through the mental side. So I think my own personal journey in football was a strong contributor for me wanting to go into sports psychology, to not only learn for myself and how to manage things and how to deal with things, but then to help other athletes going through a similar journey, to help them develop the skills and the tools to not only get them through their sport, but also to help them to thrive and propel them to whatever their dreams are. So I think that sort of kickstarted everything. I've also kind of always been the person in my friendship group that people go to for advice from a young age. So I think that natural helping tendency lends itself to wanting to be a psychologist. So I knew from the age of 16 that I wanted to be a psychologist, not necessarily sports psychology, but I knew I wanted to be a psychologist. And then through that, the friendship, the football, it was sort of opened my eyes to combining the two things that I love, sport and psychology. And my dad sort of said to me one day, many years ago, you know, you can be a sport psychologist. That wasn't really a thing. It's a very new discipline, especially in comparison to other forms of psychology. And this just opened my eyes to a completely new world of trying to understand how people behave, why they do the things they do, but in a sporting context. I can't think of anything better, to be honest. So that led me to my degree in psychology. I went to the University of Westminster in London. I then went to do a master's degree back home in Coventry University. That was just in applied psychology. Through that course, I came to the realization that I didn't want to do traditional psychology. I actually wanted to do sports psychology. So I had to go back to do another master's in sports psychology. From there, I then did my chartered training for 2 years with the British Psychological Society, which was a few years ago now, completed my training, and then straight from my training, straight into the NFL.
That's crazy. Like the journey to get there, like how many years, like again, sometimes we forget about this stuff, these disciplines, like just the years of study and education it takes to get there. Just I suppose on that, you mentioned you got soccer's an okay word here. It's okay on the show.
I know, but I prefer football.
I know, it's okay. We don't mind. We get
the viewers.
panned a lot because we get a bit lost sometimes. But yeah, from a kind of a traditional football and football perspective, obviously that's kind of been your sports world, I guess. Then from what you were saying, and in terms of growing up, what you're playing, how is it then kind of dealing with athletes from kind of a range of sports? Then, if you're kind of grounded in football as a background.
It's exciting. It's a new adventure, but I think also the core concepts of psychology, whether it's football, whether it's American football, whether it's tennis, swimming, equestrian, trampolining, all these random sports, windsurfing that I'm involved in, the core concepts of psychology remain the same because it's human behavior at the end of the day. So if we're working on confidence, the way that I might do that, of course, will be different person to person because we're all different. But the core concept of that in terms of the sport, there are similarities that you take from working in football to then working in American football. Yes, the context of the sport helps and it matters in certain ways because there are certain mental skills that are necessary at certain times of the game, and that the context and the environment around the sport changes how you would work with that athlete. But I find it riveting to be introduced to a sport that I knew nothing about. I then get a client from that sport. It allows me to then go and explore something that I had no idea about. So I find it quite enjoyable to work within the variety of sports as well as the variety of age groups as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, it's kind of that different perspective and different demands that different sports have. Yeah, I guess that's
absolutely
really, really cool. I mean, talk to us a little bit then about kind of that opportunity. You talked to us about your education journey, your studying journey, then to get to that point of being qualified and ready to go. How did kind of the opportunity, if you can talk about it, with the NFL Academy come about, and how was it then specifically the NFL Academy was your landing spot?
Yeah, good question. I do get asked this a lot. So I came out of my chartered training. We are in 2026. I finished my chartered training in 2022, end of 2022. And me just being my ambitious self, set my sights on the Premier League, the NFL, the NBA, or the NHL. Just me almost being a bit naive, thinking that I could go straight into one of these areas. I've discovered the types of jobs that were around. There weren't many jobs back then, even that was only 3-4 years ago. There's a lot more jobs available now because the demand is so high and sports psychology as a discipline is evolving so much. So I did some research into the different teams, was very much willing to move over to America. I had a bit of a childhood dream of going to work and or study at an American university. That never came to fruition, although I did do a 6-week internship at the University of Las Vegas, and that was insane. Just the scale of the scale of sport in college is so different to how it is here in the UK. So did my research anyway, and I knew that there was an NFL Academy, but they used to be based in London. So because I'm in the Midlands, that wasn't then a priority of mine to sort of get into. I know it's a bit contradicting considering I was willing to move to America, but I'm going to stay in the UK. I'd rather be at home. I'm a bit all or nothing like that. But the NFL Academy moved to Loughborough, I want to say during COVID. So they had made a partnership with the Loughborough University and the Loughborough College. So as I was coming out of my training, they had now been there for 2 years-ish. So I did some research into the academy, noticed that they didn't have a sports psychologist, but they had every other support staff. They had strength and conditioning coaches, they had physios, they had massage therapists, of course, they had various positional coaches, but they didn't have a sports psychologist. So I messaged the educational program manager. His name's Liam. He's a very close colleague of mine. I messaged him on LinkedIn and I quite literally said, you don't have a sports psychologist. I am one. Do you want to have a conversation? And I did get a bit lucky with the timing because he had just come into the academy 3 months before that conversation, and he was looking to revamp the program a little bit. He'd also played football, I think, at a semi-professional level, might be professional. So he understood for him the psychology element, and he wanted to bring that into the pathway. So he messaged me back almost immediately and he said, yep, I'm willing to have a conversation. We had a conversation, we talked for over an hour, and our ethos just aligned. Just how we thought about youth development, how we thought about life skills, how we thought about mental development aligned very nicely. So we had that conversation. He then said, come to campus, invited me to the campus the week after. I went to campus, I met some key people. I met the head of the academy, the head of performance. I met various coaches. He gave me a tour. Of course, we work in conjunction with the Loughborough University, so the facilities are unmatched. So that was sort of again, another eye-opening moment for me because I'm a bit of a gym nerd as well. And to be in that athlete environment, to be in facilities like that, it's very alluring. So had a great chat with everyone, and on the day, the head of academy said to me, can you come in once a month and deliver some workshops for us? So I said, fine. Of course, once a month delivering sports psychology isn't the most effective method, but of course it's something. So I said yes, and I did this the week after. I came in, I delivered a workshop. On that day, he said to me, can you come in 3 times a week? I said, yeah, I can do that. So then from there, we started to put a bit of an agreement together in what this could look like. And now I'm going into my 4th season, and so they never had a sports psychologist before. So I've basically researched, designed and implemented a sports psychology service, curriculum, mental training, whatever you want to call it, programs. So that now the boys, when they come to the academy, they're developing mentally just as equally as they're developing physically, technically and tactically on the field or in the film room with their coaches. And that's kind of how Liam likes to disagree with me on this story because he'll tell you that he kind of sought me out and brought me in, but it's not true. But
well,
yeah,
let's take the credit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is. But
no,
I think
wonderful.
I think it goes to show again that's testament to you about kind of creating your own opportunity. Like the opportunities that you're wanting to go for weren't there or weren't readily available. You've gone and made yourself one, which is really, really cool. But I think that's what it's a reflection of the NFL Academy, I think, as well, in terms of these guys are trying to get into a sport where they are behind in terms of, playing American football isn't like soccer here, where that's just kind of ingrained almost to you. And from a youth, it's much more accessible and things like that. Those guys don't have that versus people they're competing for places ultimately across in America. But it speaks to the academy in terms of trying to give these guys every single opportunity, whether that's to move to Loughborough, that elite sport campus, and surrounding themselves with elite athletes there, and taking on things like getting you in and building a bespoke sports psychology program for them. Nobody else has got that, right? Like this is
absolutely
a unique program built by you. It's a bespoke program that they didn't have before, and it's helping these guys to develop. It speaks to kind of the commitment of the academy of how they're trying to develop and grow, which I think is really, really cool. You've mentioned again you work with a range of different athletes across different sports. What's kind of your first impression of kind of the academy environment?
Very elite, very high standards. It's really unique because you've got a very interesting blend of an American sport, American head coach, and some American positional coaches. You've got some British coaches. You have British support staff, and you're also in England in the middle of the UK. So you've got a really unique blend of an American culture and American sport trying to fit into a British landscape, which I think creates, again, a really unique perspective and a really, really unique experience for these players, because it's so different to an American system where they would have grown up with a lot of the people on their team. They would have gone through high school together. They're likely to go off to their colleges, but their sporting journey in America is sort of set out for them through their education system. But because of the way that it's set up here, you've got players that are literally from all over the world. It used to be Europe and Africa, but we have Canadians, Mexicans, people from Japan, Hong Kong, New Zealand, Australia. We're recruiting from everywhere. So my impression is that the standard is extremely high. But rightly so. Like you said, that we're behind in a sense of players competing from America. They would have played football from the age of 4, 5, 6. Some players we recruit have never touched a ball, but because of their build, their measurements, their measurables, we can train them up on the football aspect, and then we can get them ready to go to college. So we're behind in that sense. But we're ahead in many ways in terms of the development, the fast pace in which we develop the players, how we evolve from first week in summer camp to the last week in summer camp. So all of that, I think, lends itself to the impression of when you step into the academy campus, you're just kind of hit with this whoa, and then you see the staff and how the standard and expectation they expect from the players. It's completely unmatched. You don't get this anywhere else.
Yeah, it is, and we were talking a little bit off edge before we started about we've had been fortunate enough to speak to some of the guys that have at or recently left the NFL academy or graduated, I suppose, their NFL academy alumni. And their story, all the stories are just so different. And I think it makes it such an interesting and exciting place. And it is truly unique in terms of their backgrounds, whether it's sprinting or rugby or basketball or not really played many sports, but it's just crazy, and just bringing that all together in one place and producing guys who are going and getting these opportunities. And it's great to see now as well. You mentioned kind of players in America may have played with each other before or against each other, and they're sort of have that familiarity. We've seen multiple guys go to the same team now. Well, at times, which is really cool. So, we're getting two or even 3 NFL academy players potentially going to the same school and building that as well, which I think is really cool.
Awesome.
Is there, because again, there must be, again, when you're working with different athletes in different sports, there's many different reasons to be excited about working with them. But what is it that excites you most about working with the academy athletes?
I think, to be honest, I kind of just touched on it there. It's the diversity. It's the fact that everything and everyone is so different. The journey. So for me as a psychologist, my job is to understand people, to understand how they function, what works best for them, and how can we put a mental training plan, or how can I put some sort of support together in collaboration with the athlete in a way that works specifically for them. So it's almost like we have 70 players on our roster right now. So it's almost like creating 70 individual plans to enhance their mental development and their mental well-being. So this is for a psychologist, this is a field day, because I have to get into the nitty-gritty of each person. I have to understand and ask the questions and be curious. And why'd you do this? And why'd you do that? Where did you what's your background? And how, it's very typical sort of psychology question, but the background with your parents and how were you raised, because that's a massive impact on then how they act and behave and think when it comes to the academy. So that diversity that we have at the NFL, it's like I said, it's exciting because it's almost new every single time. It's not I can't do a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, same job, same people, same tasks. I'm just not wired like that. And kudos to anyone that does do that, because I just couldn't do it. So the fact that every day is different, every day the players come with different challenges. We almost have mini seasons within our actual season from June to July. So we have our summer camp from July to August. We have our game season from August to November. We have our winter period from November to January. From January to March, we have our speed camp and our combine testing. From March to April, we have our spring games. And then April to June, we have exam season. And then it turns into personal development rather than athlete development. So being able to work with the players within those seasons, it's like a new job every 2 months.
Yeah, it must cycle through so quickly as well. Like the
It
NFL
goes
Academy
quick,
year must just fly by in a flash of all those pieces. And as you've touched on it and shared kind of some of those, I suppose, the inner workings. But for us, like, I'm sure anybody that's listening to and watching this will have heard of a sports psychologist and will have heard the role, being familiar with sport. But like me, probably doesn't know like the inner detail and inner workings of what a sports psychologist does. What does a typical week look like for you, Natasha, as a sports psychologist at the NFL Academy?
My weeks are kind of split into 2 sections because of my main role. So my main contract is with the NFL Academy, but then as we alluded to earlier, my own practice, Beyond Better, I have a numerous clients that I work with on a regular basis. It also allows me to travel. I'm back and forth from London all the time because I'm contracted to 3 athlete programs in universities, which are all based in London. So but I prefer that. I like the travel. Like I said, I like to kind of have my hands in different pies and have the flexibility of working on different projects in different days. So a typical week would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I am contracted to the NFL and we do different things. So on a Monday, it's more tailored to one-to-one support and probably some of the admin side of things. We do something called a drop-in clinic in the evenings. So from 7:30 to 9:30 at night, I am posted up in the players' accommodation. So I work a late night just to make sure that I'm available during their downtime because their schedules are so hectic. It's so back to back that if they wanted to have a meeting with me, it's a chore just trying to figure out a time whether our schedules align. So we've made it that one day a week I am in their accommodation and it's a drop-in format. So they can just come in as and when they want. We have a conversation about whatever they want to work on with no commitment, no obligation. They don't have to sort of sign up for regular sessions. So the Monday is kind of dedicated to that. Tuesdays is a Beyond Better day for me. So I'm likely to have clients. I usually do around 4 clients maximum in one day because I've recognized that once I go past 4, my mental and emotional capacity is very much at 10%. I don't really have much left after that. So I'm in either online sessions or I'm taking a trip to London where I'm seeing the athletes face to face. I'm in their performance environment. Sometimes we might go to the gym and have a bit more of an observational session. Sometimes I'll observe them in their training environment. So my most recent one, I went to observe a gymnast that I'm working with. So I just went to her gymnasium, observed her from afar this time, and then we just sort of had a chat afterwards and I wrote a report. So that's all client-facing work on the Tuesday. Wednesday, back to the academy. This is where we work on our program called Leadership Development. And this is a character development program where we have the players in groups and we deliver group workshops over the course of the season. So this might be me delivering workshops on various things. For example, the sports psychology program with the skills that are important to me for them to learn is emotional management, resilience, focus and self-talk, and performing under pressure. So we deliver workshops or activities and experiences that help them to learn those skills. Or we have guest speakers come in on various different topics. So, for example, we have someone come in to talk about gambling. We have someone come in to talk about financial management. We have someone come in to talk about home care because a lot of these players are moved away from home for the first time at 16 years old. And I was going to say you'd be surprised, but you might not be surprised in how some of these players think what cleaning looks like. So we have to show them what it means to be hygienic, especially again different cultures as well, so different standards and different practices. So on the Wednesday we have all of this sort of group workshops and life skills happening on the Wednesday. Thursday is another Beyond Better day, so whatever projects I'm working on, I try to separate the Tuesday and the Thursday. So I try to have one client facing day and then a Thursday where I'm actually being productive on projects that I want to progress or move forward. That's a recent addition, whereas previously for the past 5 years, it's just been client facing, clients back to back to back to back. but I realized I'm not actually making progress in where I want to take my business. So I've had to sort of make a bit of a sacrifice there. And then Friday back to the academy and back to the one-to-one facing stuff. So Fridays I'm usually in back-to-back one-to-ones with the players, working individually on tailored programs on whatever their current challenges are. If it's working through injury, building confidence, if it's a new player, we're setting some goals, whatever they want to work on, depending on their stage of development. That mainly happens on a Friday. So it's really full on from Monday to Friday, even on the days where I don't have clients, because it's still, when you obviously run your own business, you have to be proactive in moving that forward. So there's never really a quiet day, but I do enjoy it like that.
Well, I say we appreciate you taking some time out of your extremely hectic schedule to sit down and
no problem.
sit down and talk
Pleasure.
with us. But you mentioned there, kind of within that, actually, some of, again, you talk about the unique aspects of the NFL Academy, but some of the challenges that these guys, and they are very young athletes. You mentioned some are coming in at 16, so they're really, really young people and young athletes, and there must be a range of challenges then that when they're coming in. It must be, again, different for each one, whether that's moving away from home for the first time, learning to live on your own potentially
Absolutely.
for the first time. We've all been there, right? Balancing education and sport, because again, it's not just the football, American football side of it. There's still the education side of things that's really important if these guys are going to go and do what they want to do.
Yep.
Pressure to perform, pressure to impress and earn scholarships, all of that. What would you think? What do you think, again, you mentioned kind of heading into a fourth season, what do you kind of see as the biggest challenges these guys face when they come into the academy?
Oh, easily one of the biggest challenges is the integration into a new environment, moving away from home, not being with parents. Like I said, some of these guys are coming from Mexico or Canada or Hong Kong or Japan or New Zealand. So it's not just they've gone an hour down the road, or they've even taken a quick 2-hour flight from Europe. A lot of them have come from other parts of the world. So being able to separate themselves from their families and to have the support now from a distance rather than that everyday support, whatever that looks like, the emotional support, the support of having your food made for you and having the cleaning done and all that sort of stuff, where now they're thrust into a high intense, high pressure environment to be great athletes alongside learning how to be a young man and how to be independent. Also, like you said, their education, which in this sport is important for them to actually get to that next stage. So they're kind of learning the lifestyle management of 3 key areas of their own home care and personal development, their education, as well as football. That's easily the biggest challenge, especially during this time when we first come into summer camp. I'd say another challenge that we get a lot is, because we recruit the best from Europe, Africa, and the rest of the world, those players that we've recruited, they were the best in their team. So they were the man, they were the guy. Now, because we're recruited the best from everywhere, you are now in a melting pot of all of the guys that are the best. People sort of struggle with this because when you're the man in your own team, it's easy to be confident. It's easy to have a high level of self-esteem. It's easy to believe in yourself, and it's easy to be happy with things. But when you bring all those people together and the competition level is extremely high, and all of a sudden you might be second, third, fourth in the depth chart, whereas back home you were the number one guy without a question. I think this is a big adjustment for a lot of the guys. Some of the guys deal with it better than others because they recognize that it's part of the process and that they're here to compete, and in fact they welcome and they invite that in. Some of the guys find it difficult to adjust to that, to not being the guy, to not being the coach's favorite. So that is definitely, I would easily, the biggest 2 challenges that I've recognized so far.
And that's a really interesting one, because these guys, and probably more so here than even other American football teams or schools or programs. Certainly, like I say, these are the best of the best from UK, Europe, all here that are trying to go to that next level. So while you're learning to be a team, because you still need to deliver on the field, because that's how you're going to get the best performance to showcase yourself, you are competing with the people you are your teammates with. Is there anything specific work you kind of do around that, around kind of managing mindset around that piece, and to kind of develop the best performance? Because it is a very unique, it's probably kind of at this level, I guess, that unique spin on it, because it's the teammate element, but also I'm trying to get to the next level, and so are you.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things we do when they come into summer camp is we do we do both goal setting sessions, and we do sessions around managing expectations, because it's not necessarily the shock of the fact that they come here and they realized, oh, maybe I'm not the best here. It's how they manage their expectations moving forward, not in just the realm of being the best or wanting to be competitive, but also in getting reps, in getting game time, in making the travel squad. There are so many things that happen throughout the season where your coach's decision may not align with where you think you are in the team. So a player can think that they should be first in the depth chart, or of course I'm going to make the travel squad because I've been working hard. But sometimes that might not align with the coach's view, or actually you're not working as hard as you think you can in all of the ways that you should be. So we do a lot of work around managing those expectations, and we do a lot of work around developing a mentality that you can sort of turn on and off when you need it. So I like to liken it to the Mamba mentality, or some of the guys have their own little sayings. I'm sure the goldfish mentality is a common one. One of the guys said to me yesterday, critique yourself, don't crush yourself. So he's developing his own mentality of being able to be constructively critical without being judgmental, which again is a really key skill. So it's nice that everyone sort of comes with their own understandings of psychology, but then we work on developing their own individual mentalities and whatever that looks like for them. So there's loads of work that's done on the integration into the academy, the team bonding, the team chemistry work that we do throughout summer camp and throughout the season, also around managing expectations and getting them straight into the playbook as well, so they realize this is different to where you just were 2 months ago.
Yeah, and you mentioned kind of again in what you've talked about to us so far, there's a lot of proactive elements of kind of your work and some reactive elements to your work, because of kind of what happens is a huge influencer, I guess, on mindset, on where a player may be at a certain time. In kind of the reactive element of things, how do you support athletes maybe at the academy who have maybe suffered through injury or setbacks, like maybe, the deselection or being moved down the depth chart, not getting the reps, or kind of struggling with poor performance? Kind of how does your work kind of help those guys through that?
Yeah, we have to have both sides. First of all, you have to have a proactive element and you have to have a reactive element, because things happen in life, not even just around sport, but around mental health and well-being as well. So we have to be able to react to that where necessary. But in terms of injury, deselection, not making the squad, we do a lot of work around how you interpret these events. So meaning how you understand them, what they mean to you. So for example, if you have been not chosen for the travel squad, of course, it's devastating to all of the guys that don't get selected, because this is what you work towards. However, some of the guys will allow that to defeat them, and then they won't work hard for the next week or 2 weeks or months, because they're kind of thinking, well, what's the point? This mentality, of course, won't take you very far, and it gets noticed very quickly, because your effort can drop, your concentration can drop. However, you might have another player where we work on, okay, you've not been selected this time. So rather than taking this experience as the be all and end all, can we learn to see it as just a stepping stone in the journey? So the work that we do around that is basically learning to take perspective of where you're at, rather than, like I said, to the guys, this feels like the end of the world. So learning to take perspective and being able to, we call it zooming out, so that you can see the whole picture of the journey where you are. And actually, if you tracked your journey on a line graph, you would see that the trajectory is generally going upwards. But at the moment, you just might be in what you call a little bit of a dip. But overall, you are still moving forward. So we teach them to zoom out so that they can take perspective. We also work with them on reframing the situation. So, for example, like I said, it could feel like the end of the world to them, but how they view that experience is going to influence how they behave in relation to that experience. So if they view it by zooming out and they recognize, actually, this is just one step in the journey, that then allows you the flexibility to then go to your coach and actually say, you didn't take me on the travel squad, that's fine. can you give me some feedback? So I always tell the players, when something happens, when you experience this, I don't like to call it a setback, but for lack of a better term, when you experience a setback like this, or an experience like this, get a pen and paper, go to your coach and say, Coach, can I have 10 minutes? Please tell me 3 things I can improve right now, so to give me a best chance at making the next travel squad. But it's that proactive element that not everyone is born with or everyone has thought about. So there is a process to all of this, which is taking the perspective, zooming out, understanding how you're looking at this experience. Are you looking at it in unproductively, where you think it's defeating you? Or actually, can we change that? Let's look at it productively. What can I learn from this? And then go and take that action to actually take a learning point from it so that you can continue to grow.
Absolutely, it's key, isn't it? 'Cause again, it's never just a linear journey, is it? Even in the most
Never.
successful of elite athletes, it's never just from bottom to top and no bumps in the road, so to speak. It's and how you deal with that ultimately.
I think that's another thing as well, is going back to the managing expectations. It's a bit savage, but one of the first things I tell the players when they come in for summer camp is I put the statistic on the screen that says, can't remember the exact figure, but it's 0.001% of high school players go to the NFL. So, like I said, a bit savage, but it's about this idea of managing expectations. You are here to try and achieve a dream, absolutely. But it's my job to make sure that you have a plan B and a plan C, and that you develop as a person, not just as an athlete. Because if this pathway does not work out, that's absolutely fine. You've still developed multiple other skills that can take you to university or to the workplace or to start your own business or an apprenticeship. So that managing expectations and helping them to understand that you are going to experience limitless, what you would think are setbacks or hurdles or challenges, that's not the issue. The issue is, how are you going to respond to them? That's what you want to work on. Don't work on avoiding those challenges. Work on a productive response to them.
Yeah, it's it really is, like I say, when you point to it like that, they're not point, not. Yeah, of players, it really does kind of, that end goal, but there's so much to learn and so much to grow on the way, regardless of whether that ends up being the end reality or something else along the way. Plans change, right? You talked about your journey of kind of how you've got to your kind of where you're at now. Like, it's not always kind of the initial plan, is it, that happens? I'm sure that's for all of us. That's some great learnings to take. We're just going to do a bit of a quick fire round, Natasha, if that's okay. Before we've got kind of like one final question before we let you go. So yeah, just some quick questions, I suppose, to help, showcase the sports psychology more, and yourself, of course, as well. But give us one word that describes the NFL Academy.
Unmatched.
Unmatched, cool. What is most underrated mental skill?
Reflection.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Let go and let God.
Nice. A book everybody should read?
Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman, I think.
We'll put the link to it in the bottom. Absolutely, it's a recommendation. One habit every young athlete should build?
Writing things down, like writing down your thoughts and feelings.
Nice. And what does beyond better mean to you?
Good question. My dad's going to love this. Beyond better. So it means to go beyond the call of duty. So my father always used to tell me when I was younger to go beyond the call of duty, to do more than what is asked of you, to go out of your way to help people. And I think not only in my family, but my culture, my religion, this is deeply ingrained to be of service to others. So the name Beyond sort of came from that. It was birthed from that. And then just the idea of being better is, for me, the idea of being better wasn't enough. And again, if you want to be an athlete at the top level, it shouldn't be enough for you either. So to go beyond that is the goal.
Cool, good stuff. Thank you for sharing that, Natasha. Appreciate it. One final question before we go, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So we see, for the NFL Academy guys, we see a lot of the outputs and the end result, which is whether the performance on the field during the games, or again the announcements of the recruitment and the commitments and all that fantastic stuff that happens from the NFL Academy. But what's one thing that you wish that the public and us understood about the mental work that goes on behind the scenes?
I think I think it can be easy to think that the players have got it good, and they do. Don't get me wrong. Like we are extremely privileged, But the hard work, the daily grind that goes into building up to game day, no one sees that. No one sees when a player comes into my office and they're in tears because they had an offer and it's got retracted from them. That is devastating, and that is absolutely heartbreaking. No one sees that effort. No one sees the lack of sleep because they've got back-to-back meetings, and then they've got to do notes, and then they've got to do their psychology work, and then they've got assignments due in their education, then they've got to do recovery and do their stretching. No one sees that. So in terms of what I would like for people to understand is that what you see on game day is built months in advance. You see, like you said, you see the product, but the daily grind that goes into the mental development, you won't ever see that. The form of that work is in a touchdown, or the form of that work is in a pick or an interception. So just to be, I guess, more aware, more cognizant of what these players go through at such a young age, at such a high level, just to be a bit more aware and considerate, I guess, appreciative of what it takes to go and play at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium every October. Like it's not easy to do that.
Awesome. Natasha, thank you ever so much for joining us. Make sure you go follow Natasha at Natasha Bains Psych on Instagram. Also go follow the Beyond Better Club as well, and you'll see all the great work that Natasha is doing with the NFL Academy. Appreciate you, Natasha. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Paul. It's been great. I appreciate it.